Soft, wistful sigh. A faint scent of lilac and regret seems to permeate the air. Oh, darling, let me tell you. It is a tale of expectations dashed, of promises dissolved like sugar in lukewarm tea. You see, I have standards. A rather unfortunate inheritance, perhaps, from a grandmother who believed a chipped teacup was a personal affront. It is not about materialism, you understand. It's about respect. Respect for beauty, for craftsmanship, for the simple act of offering someone a moment of genuine solace. And oh, how profoundly lacking in respect the Rhodes Palace Hotel, Rhodes, proved to be. It begins, as all tragedies do, with a naive heart. My friend's precious, dewy-eyed creatures, still capable of believing in the brochuress, insisted. A 5-star experience, they chirped like sparrows. Honestly, the very notion. 5 stars, as if a constellation of arbitrary designations could somehow shield one from the encroaching banality of the world. I agreed, of course, because, well, one doesn't want to be difficult. A fatal flaw, as it turns out. The approach itself was disheartening. The exterior, you see, possessed a certain faded grandeur, like a dowager countess attempting to maintain a youthful facade. A bit too much rouge, a bit too much reliance on past glories. But one can forgive a little patina, darling. It is character, it is history, it is what the soulless glass and steel boxes lack. But this wasn't history, it was neglect. A deliberate refusal to acknowledge the ravages of time. Already a tiny splinter of unease lodged itself in my soul. Then came the lifts. Oh, the lifts, 3 lifts, can you imagine? For a building that clawed at the heavens with 17 floors, it felt cruel almost. Like a deliberate exercise in torment, and naturally one was perpetually out of service. A cardboard sign, taped haphazardly to the door as if an apology could magically rectify the situation. Waiting. Oh, the waiting. 10 minutes, 20 minutes. An eternity in the stifling, perfume-laden air, crammed amongst fellow sufferers, their faces etched with a shared despair. It is not merely an inconvenience, you see. It's a symbolic representation of the hotel's indifference. They don't value your time, they don't value you. Like a punishment, it's the same as making you walk in place forever. And the room. They dare to present images, alluring and deceptive, on their website. A pastel-hued paradise bathed in golden sunlight. What I received, well, it resembled something out of a forgotten era, a relic of a time when beige was considered the height of sophistication. Old-fashioned doesn't quite capture it, darling. It was actively unwelcoming. The furniture, heavy and ornate, seemed to glare at me with disapproval. The fabrics, faded and worn, smelled faintly of mothballs and disappointment. It felt less like a sanctuary and more like a stage set for a mournful play. You see, a room is more than just 4 walls and a bed. It's a reflection of the self. A place to retreat, to recharge, to dream. This room, it suffocated those possibilities. It whispered, "You are not worthy of beauty, you are not worthy of comfort." The lighting was atrocious, a sickly, yellowish glow that rendered everything vaguely unsettling. It's like being in a perpetual state of twilight, darling. And the noise, the incessant hum of the air conditioning, a rattling, wheezing beast that seemed determined to drive me to madness. And don't even get me started on the plugs falling out of the walls. Such a blatant disregard for safety. It was like a malevolent practical joke orchestrated by a disgruntled electrician. Then the indignities began. The gym. Oh, the audacity, to charge extra for access to a facility that was, frankly, an afterthought. A cramped, dimly lit room with equipment that looked as though it had been salvaged from a shipwreck. And no towels, no water, just disappointment. A chilling display of corporate greed, and when I politely
instead a towel, simply to cleanse myself after the exertion, I was met with a blank stare and a curt no. 1 towel per guest, apparently.
The businesses surrounding the Rhodes Palace Hotel, Rhodes, they aren't what you'd call a breath of fresh air. Honestly, a feeling of quiet disappointment settled in as I reviewed everything. It's as if a shadow of, well, let's call it economic fatigue, has fallen over the area. It's not a vibrant, bustling scene, it's more like a collection of places existing, rather than thriving. And frankly, as someone who appreciates a little polish, a little effort, it's troubling. Let's start with the shopping. The commercial centres nearby, like Cairo Palace, are, let's say, holding on. They present as these shells of what they could be. The overwhelming sentiment seems to be that they're simply there. It isn't somewhere you actively seek out. Multiple reports suggest a dated feel. Think of a time capsule, but one that wasn't very interesting to begin with. One person described it as nothing special, and honestly, that feels like the most generous assessment. A few mentioned a lack of cleanliness, a sort of weary resignation in the furniture. The overarching sense. It's a place you find yourself if you're lost, not a destination in itself. There's a sense of businesses simply existing. It's odd, one person even mentioned the place wasn't even a mall, just a collection of shops. It's like they are holding on by a thread, desperately trying to appear busy but ultimately failing. It's like looking at a photograph of a happy memory, slowly fading with time. A stark contrast to the promise of a beautiful Greek island experience. Now, let's discuss the hospitality shown at businesses directly connected to a relaxing experience, a seemingly ideal dream, the Rhodes Palace Hotel itself. A wave of distress washed over me as I perused the feedback. The consistent theme seems to be one of a decline, a feeling of something once glorious now quietly crumbling. It's a rather disheartening thought. Guests repeatedly brought up issues with upkeep. Broken fixtures, malfunctioning appliances, a pervasive sense of neglect. Some described the rooms as trapped in a 1970s time warp, but without the charm. It's not just aesthetics either. Several people reported issues with cleanliness, describing rooms as simply not being cleaned adequately. The food received even harsher criticism, frequently labelled as cold, repetitive, and poorly prepared. A chef among the reviewers even confessed to being embarrassed by the offerings. It's a damning indictment. And then there's the service. A general air of indifference, of staff who seem actively disinterested in assisting guests. It's a feeling of being an inconvenience, not a valued visitor, a truly unpleasant experience. One traveller beautifully articulated they felt actively unwelcome, and I fear that sentiment is pervasive here. They reported uncleanliness, and there was also isolated incidents of people almost getting harmed by the broken elevator. It feels like a place where corners are cut, and the guest experience is an afterthought. It's a tragedy, considering the potential for something truly special. It breaks my heart. Let's move on to establishments aiming for a more social scene, specifically Amalfi Coast Rhodes. The theme here is aspiration exceeding execution. It appears to want to be a chic, Instagram-worthy hotspot, but falls drastically short. People speak of ridiculously inflated prices for portions that would barely satisfy a child. It's the kind of place where you spend a fortune and walk away still feeling hungry. Multiple accounts paint a picture of rushed service, cold food, and an overall lack of attention to detail. There are reports of cocktails being weak, dishes being poorly prepared, and a general sense of being ripped off. It has a perilously thin veneer of luxury, desperately trying to hide an underlying sense of mediocrity. Things were bad enough that sometimes there would be no chefs.
It's as if they're banking on the scenery and a pretty aesthetic to distract from the overall lack of quality. What's perhaps most unsettling is how consistently people compare the prices and quality unfavorably to other, more established establishments on the island. It's a warning, really your money is likely better spent elsewhere. I find it deeply frustrating. It's a betrayal of the visitor's trust, a cynical attempt to profit from a good location and a pretty facade. The same principle applies to the Last Butler. It attempts to position itself as a sophisticated cocktail bar, but many reviews suggest it's lost its way. Complaints center around inconsistent drink quality, rude staff, and some pretty questionable sanitary practices. One person noted that they got food poisoning. There are reports of being overcharged, of receiving drinks that aren't as advertised, and...
Okay, so I was looking into things around Rhodes Palace Hotel, just because. And it's not great. Like, not surprising, but still. Businesses near Rhodes Palace, they try things, let us put it that way. First off, shops, they love to play with prices. You go in, see a little bottle of olive oil looks nice, they tell you one price. Then at the till, boom, way higher. I heard a story about a British tourist near Ixia, not far from the hotel, paid 45 for liqueur that was actually 15 everywhere else. Can you believe that? They probably felt so dumb afterwards, right? Like completely taken advantage of, the shop. They probably just shrugged and waited for the next tourist. A small fine maybe, but it's worth it to them, I guess. It's just sad. Then there's the traditional stuff. You want to bring home something authentic from Rhodes near Rhodes Palace Hotel. Be careful. Some stores are selling fake local products. Like olive oil labelled as local that came from who knows where. Someone got fined in Ixia for it, but honestly, how many tourists even find out? They get home, use the oil, maybe it tastes okay, and they never know they were ripped off. The shop probably just replaced the fake stuff with more fake stuff. It's just exhausting, isn't it? And it gets worse. Apparently the staff in some shops near Ixia, where people going to Rhodes Palace Hotel would probably wander, they really pushy. Like super aggressive about selling you things, and sometimes they accidentally overcharge you. A German couple, they bought sandals, told a price, but got charged double on their card. They had to go back and argue, can you imagine? They probably spent the rest of their holiday worrying about hidden charges. The shop probably blamed a technical error and made sure to be a little more careful next time, maybe. Oh, and counterfeit goods. Near Ixia they found shops selling fake bags and sunglasses. Tourists thinking they're getting a deal, but it's all fake. The police took the stuff, but the